I'm so excited. I have the beautiful Tracy Litt. Welcome to the Abundance Club. Thank you for
Hi,
being.
so happy to be here.
So I've had the pleasure of being in your world, not yet in person, but that will come. But just through your podcast, through your work in Kathy Heller's world, and through some of your online offerings, and I love your energy. If I was to describe your frequency, like I was reflecting on this before this podcast session, I'm like, it's badass. It's free. It's unapologetic. It's real. It's magnetic. Like you are someone I could say like you sit on your throne, and I'd imagine that you would recognize this within yourself because you know who you are. And yet I know that you've gone on your own earth school journey and initiations to arrive here and to be the embodiment of what you teach and to lead others from that place. And I think that can be really rare to have someone who you can tell has walked through the fire of their own initiation and has fully lived and had that embodied experience. And when you
Mm.
share, I think this is what's so magnetic about you, Tracy. You share because you've been through that and you speak from that, and that's such a gift. So for those who haven't yet had the pleasure of being in your world and learning your story, like what did it take for you to arrive here, like to meet and embrace this version of you that knows who she is and is unapologetic unapologetically devoted to your own growth and the way that you lead others through this evolution?
Mm. Thank you for this question. And first, Earth School, best thing I've ever heard. I always talk about that through the lens of, like everything in our human experience is being given to us to workshop the objective of our soul, right? So we're both saying the same thing, but Earth School, genius. I love it. My whole body was like, yes, it is Earth School. So good. Um, so I had to be willing is the most important part of this answer. You know, the universe gives you opportunities to grow, and we each get to decide how hard it really needs to be and how painful it needs to be and how many times we want to learn the same lesson. And I find, and I don't know how I became willing, but I know that that was a big part of it because I don't tend to learn lessons more than once. So the initial, when I think about like all the events in my Earth School journey, and that initial night when I was laying on the garage floor and I was a newly single mom with my 8-month-old daughter, which is just important for me to underscore 8 months old. And I became a single mom. Like, that's what? That makes no sense. She's 22 now and she's the most you think I'm magnetic. Pff, I don't hold a candle to what she became. But that night, crying my eyes out, having that dark night of the soul, wondering like, how did this happen? Whose life is this? And having a moment where my highest self came through for the first time, and knew in that moment that what was being illuminated was, if you continue to operate from this unworthy identity, this is the kind of experience you're going to have again and again and again. And it was that moment, that willingness of being like, heard, got it. I'm willing to apply this, right? That's what wisdom and lesson is all about. I'm willing to apply this. Good. So show me something different. And I started to let her lead. I was willing to not be so resistant, not be so afraid, not so attached to the limitation. Because if we're not willing, then I would have had to learn that lesson again. And that was a really painful one. So I could have only imagined how it would have come back. So it's a willingness and then a commitment to honoring the fact that we're actually here to grow. First, it came through the Earth School, it came through the really hard human moments. And then I was like, hold on. So, what's the game here, really? We're spiritual, energetic beings having a human experience. We all know on some level if we're not growing, we're dying. So, this is actually about being really good at growth
Mm.
and understanding what being really good at growth means, which means leaning into risk, shifting your relationship with the unknown, seeing everything through the lens of Earth School, right? Realizing that what we're here to actually do is answer the objective of our soul, and entrepreneurship and motherhood and marriage and friendship and all of the circumstance that is our humanness is like the playing field for that evolution.
Mm. I love the way that you reframe this, and you often speak about this being a choice, right? And you said that you had willingness, and I speak about that as well in terms of choice points, that we have, and we have free will, so we get to choose which way we're gonna go. But
Yeah.
what I feel like with you is that you had that calling from your higher self. So you knew that there was something bigger that was leading you. And it's almost like when you feel that there is no longer a choice, if, and what I'm understanding is if you really understand what you're here for, here to grow. But so many
Mm.
people are uncomfortable with that. And I want you to speak to that as well, because you talk about this discomfort almost being, my understanding is like it's a gateway. Like it's not meant to feel comfortable when we're expanding. Can you go a little bit more into that, particularly around this growth and evolution as a choice? And why then does it feel so hard to keep making that choice that we know deep down is right for us, that's going to serve our expansion? Why do we keep getting lured back into the limitation?
Mm. Because the old identity is a hard habit to break, right? So really what's happening to start with this beautiful, rich question that you just posed, we need to, and when I say need, I actually mean need, we need to have an understanding of our neurobiology. We need to understand that we have a nervous system that connects our mind and body that is singularly wired to ensure that we wake up tomorrow and breathe,
Mm.
which means it's wired to survive, which means it's wired for sameness, as in staying the same. Because anything different than who you've been or what you have felt before or what you have created or what you have experienced is always perceived as a threat at the level of your nervous system. And this is universal. So it doesn't matter your color, your race, your gender, if you had big T trauma, if your parents were divorced, married, if you're the eldest, if you're the middle, if you're from Italy, if you're from America, if you're from Africa, nothing matters. This is, if you are breathing and you are a human, your nervous system is wired to keep you the same. So consciously and intellectually, we have all of these big ideas and we make decisions and we aspire for things and we're ready for. And then as soon as the rubber meets the road and it's time for you to actively move outside of the zone of familiarity of your current identity of who you've been, you can actually feel the expansion, the discomfort. Like there have been nights in my journey where I would get up in the middle of the night out of bed because I didn't want to wake my husband because I was in actual like pain. When
Yeah.
I was little and I was growing, I don't know if your parents were like this, but like I'd be growing and be like, Mom, my knees hurt. And she'd be like, it's growing pains. Like,
Yeah.
it was in that stage where you're actually growing. Like I think we get very immune to so many things in this industry being, personal growth, spiritual development, peak performance, human potential, where we hear things like growth and comfort aren't friends. And it sounds like a really cute meme to put on your Instagram, but you don't actually realize that that is what is. And when we can start to love and appreciate all of the different components of our neurobiology and be like, okay, cool. So what she's saying is anything that I want that is unfamiliar or unknown, my nervous system is always going to register as a threat, and it's going to do everything in its power to keep me from it because it needs to perceive that I am staying the same in order for it to perceive that I am staying safe. So I get this is part of getting really good at growth. So I get to shift my relationship with the unknown and tolerate discomfort, not eliminate it, not meditate my way out of it, not buffer against it, but be like, cool, I'm uncomfortable because I'm stretching, because I'm growing, because I'm expanding.
I'd imagine then you can kind of get to a point where you almost get excited by it
Yeah.
because you know what's on the other side of it. But the only
Yes.
way is through, right? It's like
Yes.
and what do you tell yourself? Like how do you support yourself? You've said a quote, I think it's one of your quotes. Who you've been has nothing to do with who you're capable of becoming. And I want you to
Yes.
speak to this in terms of fear, because fear is the thing that pulls so many people back. It can feel so real, yet I
Yeah.
know it can be this gateway to growth, as you said. Like, how do you support women to stay in the unknown or to play
Mhm.
in the unknown long enough for that next version of them to emerge and guide them forward?
Yeah. So that this is exactly what our IP, it's called Neuro Identity Evolution. That's what we do. It's my biggest part of my body of work. And that's what your question is that is the answer. And there's many components, but what's important right now, there's two things that are important. We help you become, which means you're actually evolving at the identity level. So we're not just imagining you and your current identity and giving you some hacks to feel comfortable or to work with the discomfort. We need to realize that for any transformation to be sustainable, for any up level to be sustainable, for any expansion to really lock in, we must do it at the identity level. If not, what we end up doing, and this is what I see a lot, is we're grabbing an affirmation, we're grabbing a breathwork class, we're grabbing a hack, we're grabbing a mindset shift, and we're trying to smack all this on top of the current identity that is not aligned, equipped, or a match for where you're going and who you're becoming. So we have to work at the identity level. And the most important thing that I gift you, guide you in, is that change happens at the speed of safety, and that you, as the director of this whole show, right? You have all the power. You're more powerful than your mind, your body, your nervous system, your past, your thoughts, the beliefs, all of it. Because the coolest thing that we learned in neuroplasticity is that we're malleable. There's
Mm.
nothing fixed. Like, how fun is that? I remember when I learned that and I was like, no way. Like that, really? All of it's up for grabs. So what was conditioned into me, what was programmed into me that we didn't choose, and I want this to piss you off a
Mm.
little bit because you need that anger to move. It's like I didn't choose this, but I'm just living my life by this
Yeah.
program and this worldview and this belief structure that was just bequeathed into me. No. What she's saying, you have choice. Yes, you could design it because the becoming process is equal parts remembering the truth of who you've always been
Mm.
before all the shit, and who do you actually need to become to stand in the reality of what you say you want.
Mm.
And that's what the process does. And in order to play in the unknown, which is where all that magical stuff lives, because if it was known to you, it would be your current reality,
Mm.
we have to give our nervous system the safety it needs on demand so that we can change.
Yeah, really meeting it moment to moment. I love that you
But
said like it's almost what I'm understanding from you. It's like we're not trying to go back and fix the current identity. And I think that that happens a lot. It's like we're then playing in the limitation, trying to solve and fix and change that rather than step into the evolvement of kind of who you became to be, aligning with your higher self. Is that kind
yes,
of what you're saying here?
yes, it is. We don't need to know why. We don't need to unearth.
Yeah.
It's helpful to know what's in your current belief structure, but we can identify that very easily without years of therapy and, deep dive understandings. Because when you work at the level of the body and you are becoming profound at completing stress cycles, and you're someone who learned how to feel their feelings because emotion is energy in motion, it's not the good, bad, right, or wrong thing we were taught. When you're working at the level of your body so consistently, which means you're working at the level of your nervous system, then you're available for change.
Mm.
And the story that's attached to what was stuck in your body doesn't really matter as long as we're moving it out of your body.
Yeah, yeah. So you teach a lot around embodiment with that, which I think is so
Oh yeah.
beautiful and so what we need. What do you find
Yeah.
women in your world and that come in and do your courses and so forth? What do you find that they really remember about themselves when they stop abandoning themselves, or they stop abandoning their bodies and they start like living from within.
Mm, two things. They remember their power, like almost like ancestral, like, oh
Yeah.
shit, this is who I am. Like
Yes.
Stella got her groove back, shoulders of a queen, strut type vibe, right?
Mm.
And and this happens all the time. The depths of their gifts, as in their clairvoyance and clairsentience and their intuition, and these truly, witchy and otherworldly parts of them that they have, because we all have beyond the humanness gifts. And then they're like, oh, and it was just kind of pushed out of them. That happens all the
Yeah.
time. And not because they then decide they're going to go be a medium. It's not like that. It's more about like, whoa, I am multidimensional. There's so much more to me than the limited identity that I was existing in. And I have all this power and I have all this capability. And when I'm coherent, right, as in my heart and my brain and my thoughts and my actions and my identity is all just lined up, you're like playing a whole different game than everybody else.
As you're saying that, I feel like, and I don't know if you feel like, I feel like this is the work right now. Like, there can be nothing more important, more powerful, more needed, more necessary for that. Because when you know who you are and you choose no longer to leave yourself and to self-abandon, like when you operate from that place, everything shifts, right? Whether that's in your business or in your relationships or in your money, like nothing is off limits. And when you talked about like, you said something about multisensory or
Mm.
multidimensional or
Yeah.
remembering your power. I mean, this is something that's always been in us and we're remembering, and it feels like the old paradigm of outsourcing our power and the focus on external power. It feels like we're really moving out of that, and
Mm.
the requirement, the deeper calling right now is to remember who you are. It's like to activate your power and to become your most magnetic self, because this is what, this is going to be the leaders of this new paradigm. That's what I believe at any rate. I know
I
what you.
fully subscribe, believe, agree 1,000 times over. We are being tapped to build the new world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that is eroding and falling down around us is happening because it's time for this kind of rise. We can't
Yeah.
have enough of these conversations, right? And we need to have it outside of ourselves because we talk about it, we're all in agreement. We need to be bringing this conversation everywhere that we possibly can because that's what the new world requires.
Yeah.
And the way that we do that, be that, change the world, shift things for generations, elevate collective consciousness, all of those things that I'm here for, is actually each one of us leaning in and doing the work. Right? We don't change the world by being like, let's change the world. We change the world by each individual recognizing that we're part of oneness and the collective, and who you be and how you move about the world and the energy that you emit is the thing that has the direct impact on what we're experiencing.
Mm, mm.
That's really the work.
Yeah, it's all the inside work, right? And
Mhm.
us women, it feels like we're really being called into this
Oh,
now and that we've chosen
yes.
this time. So, and that's why
Yes.
I love you leading in the way that you're leading, and the women that are leading. And I remember when I first heard you speak, I was in one of Kathy's containers a few years ago, and I was just like, who is this woman? Like, she's calling me into my power. And, you can feel the activation. And I'm sure anybody that's listening to this podcast is like, I can feel like I'm being called forward, like I'm being activated from the inside out to rise and to really step into my becoming. And
Yeah.
it's so cool. It's so needed. We see self-abandonment and self-sacrifice, and we experience that on the daily as women in
Mm,
a lot of different ways. We can tend to default to that, even even if we've got the awareness of knowing that it's not loving. So when women
mm.
come into your world, I'd imagine that they're like, I'm done with the limitation. Like I can see the way that I'm continuing to self-abandon. I can see the way that I'm holding myself back. I can see the way that I'm letting fear steer the ship. Tell
Hmm.
me what truths you share with them that help them to move out of that old conditioning and step into their old evolved becoming.
Oh, there's so many. So let's see what just wants to come through. That you cannot be both in self-betrayal and in your power at the same time. You need to make a choice. Are you going to betray yourself for the comfort and ease of others? Or are you going to finally stop taking responsibility for everything and everyone around you and prioritize yourself and choose yourself? I would so much rather betray anyone else than betray myself.
Mm,
I'm just not available to do that. And
mm,
what's interesting about that is that's part of what I'm talking about the programming, the conditioning. There's a drip process that occurs where your great great grandmother drips into your great grandmother, and your great grandmother dripped into your grandmother, and your grandmother dripped into your mother, and your mother dripped into you. And now here you are in the consciousness revolution in 2026, and you have an opportunity not to stop the drip because the drip is inevitable, but to change what's being dripped. We didn't choose self betrayal. Our foremothers had to do that in order to survive. The worlds they lived in, we have to get that. 1974 was yesterday. That was the year that we finally didn't need a cosigner on a credit card. Yesterday,
mm.
1974, right? The 1950s, the 30s, the 1900s, when you really consider that was not a long time ago. That was like last week when you really consider space and time. That's what was bequeathed. They had to shrink to survive. That was the deal. You don't. And that's the kind of like, to your point, call up when this moment either activates you into yes or it activates you into being pissed off with me, which either way, I love it because I'm just trying to move your energy a little bit, right? And
Mm.
actually, I'm not trying. I'm being me. And by virtue of me being me, it happens for you, right?
Yeah.
But that's one of the biggest pieces is we can't ride the fence anymore. And we can't, I mean, I cannot begin to tell you how sick I am of having the conversation about put your oxygen mask on first. I am so overdone with having to have the conversation about filling your own cup first. At what
Mm.
point can we have gotten that already and have a better conversation? Because there's so much more we need to handle than that rudimentary level stuff at this point, right? So it's
Yeah.
like that is huge. And the other part of what I die on the hill over is none of this is real and we're all going to die.
Mm, mm, mm.
It's a huge, like, so also just do the damn thing and stop betraying yourself and use your voice and show up and scale the business and fire the person and hire the person and say yes to the love of your life or leave the marriage or finally enforce boundaries with your kids or stop at whatever your thing is. Like
Yeah.
none of this is real. This is a control matrix. This is your perception of reality. And we're the only actual truth that ever exists because it used to be true. It used to be truth, objective truth, to say that the only truth there is like you have to pay taxes and then you die, right? That
Mm,
was like
mm,
some
mm.
quote. But you don't have to pay taxes if you don't want to. That's your choice, right? So the only truth is death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that because something magical happens when you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to the beautiful Gary Zukav. He wrote
Oh,
Seed of the
yeah.
Soul. Yeah, listening
Yes.
to him talk the other day, and it struck a chord with me because he just said, if you knew how many souls are lining up to come into this earth school, this,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
human experience. He said, you would love and savor and embrace every single moment that you have here, and you would live it, and you'd live it, right?
Yeah, you don't want to get to the end and regret that you could have done the thing, built the thing, left the thing, had the conversation, had the experience, right? Gone on that extra girls' weekend or
Mm,
said yes to that retreat.
mm.
Or you don't want to be like, oh, I could have left the marriage. Like, what are we doing?
Well, even worse, if it meant that, because you didn't want to offend someone, or you were
Hmm.
worried about saying no, or because you were
Mm-hmm.
concerned about how you were going to be perceived and what people were going to
Mm-hmm.
think.
Mm-hmm. Right, but that's so much of it because we all have such a deep, deep fear of rejection, a deep fear of judgment, a deep fear of abandonment. And all of that, it's so workable. Like you pull a few levers from an internal infrastructure standpoint, and then you're showing up for yourself, right? Like we don't need more models of shrinkage and self-abandonment. There's a just look around. What we need is more women in their full power, in their expression, building the new world.
I love talking to women about you because about you. I'm talking to women about you, but I love talking to
Thank
women
you.
like you
Yeah.
because it's like you're so in your calling, like you're so in your assignment. And do you feel like if you were to look back to when that was, when you were lying on the floor and living off
Mm.
food stamps and you had your like, what would you just want to say to that person? Because we all have those moments and we can look back and we can see how far we've come. But for someone that's feeling in this place of real discomfort and or crisis, whatever it is, and they feel like this is just it, like this is my lived reality, what would you say?
Who you've been is zero indication of who you're capable of becoming.
Mhm.
Let go.
Mm.
Leap. It works out more gorgeously than you could have ever imagined.
And I'd imagine that you did that with the full spectrum of fear and doubt and
Yeah, I have my TED Talks on fear because I spent 2 years once I decided I was a VP of HR for 12 years. And when I decided I was going to come into this gorgeous world that I found of human growth and spiritual development, and I was going to, at 38 years old, and I owned my house and my car, my daughter was thriving and all was well, and I was letting her lead, and I landed in this gorgeous reality. And my soul was like, no, you can't die like this. You're meant for more.
Mm.
And it took me 2 years to actually invest the $10,000 to go to coaching school because I was so paralyzed by fear. That window, that journey, it's interesting. I have to operate in a conversation like this in two minds because the part of me that knows that every single thing that happened had to happen the exact way that it needed to happen to get me here is so good with it all that I have to kind of go back into those moments, right? But that 2 years, when I tell you gas break, like Monday, I'm doing it. I'm going back to coaching school. I'm gonna do it. And Tuesday, who the hell do you think you are? And
Yeah.
Thursday, we're gonna do it. And Friday, what if it doesn't work out? What if you suck? What if you can't get your job back? Right? Like that whole experience created my fear body of work. Because when I leapt, finally, the second time my highest self came back, just like that night on the garage floor, same kind of intensity. And she's the one who said to me, "You're not getting out alive. What are you doing? Like, go fucking do the thing."
Mm.
Right. And that's when I invested in coaching school. I then manifested a layoff from that corporate job 4 months later. My CEO calls, "Oh, we're eliminating your department." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "I don't think you're hearing me." I'm like, "No, no, no, we're good. We're good. We're good." Like, because I have a plan. But I decided that if I was experiencing that for 2 years, right? Like if I was experiencing that kind of yes and conviction and excitement and calling, but also equal parts, absolutely not, and totally frozen,
Yeah.
what was that? Right? I didn't learn my body of work in coaching school. Coaching school doesn't teach you this unless you come and you get certified by me in the School of Becoming because it's our body of work. And I decided I'm going to figure out what that was. So I started on the side studying risk and risk perception and the biology of change and the nervous system's connection to fear. And then I was like, oh my God, if I would have known that, I could have made it safe and I could have moved faster. And
Mm.
that's where the whole concept of change happens at the speed of safety comes from when you know that your fear is loving. Everything we were taught about
Yeah.
fear is wrong. We're taught to like mitigate it through like pushing and doing it anyway and having courage. No, that only makes it louder when you love the fear. Fear showing up because it's like, I love you so much, don't die. And when you
Yeah.
understand that, then you shift your relationship with it, you start to love it. Then you're like, okay, now you're really in your power.
Yeah, you bring fear along for the ride,
You
right?
have to.
You just can't let it steer the ship, but it can be in the back somewhere, right?
100%. Yeah, because that's the other thing. Fearlessness isn't a thing. Fear is biological. It's omnipresent. Like, here we go. You need to learn how to relate to it differently so that you can use its power for good.
Mm, mm. It's so great. And I can tell, like you now, and I'm sure the women who work with you as well, like you're letting your higher self lead. I'd love to know for you, do you have now your own personal practices, rituals, things that are just a non-negotiable for you that keep you tapped in and connected to that?
I live inside of my choice method work. So the choice method is a component of neuro identity evolution, and it's actually something we now offer on the side. Like, you can get instant access to it. I teach it
Mm.
in an hour. But what it is essentially, because I always, at large, I'm very spacious. I spend a lot of time outside, right? I do the things, I meditate, but I also am at the stage of my mastery where not every morning looks the same.
Mhm.
It used to be, and when you come through becoming a neuro, I'm giving you a morning thing because we're actively in like we are activating a next level here. So we need to be really intentional. But when you're in the place where you become that version of you for a while and you're just kind of in it, this is kind of the phase that I'm at. But essentially, what I mean by the choice method and living in it is there are four essential requirements that have to be active, not when you're hemorrhaging and need a tool. That's not the move.
Yeah.
But like to consistently be able to embody your next level and let her lead. And step one in the choice method is notice. So I'm teaching like so I live in a state of interoceptive awareness, meaning my ability to perceive what's happening inside my body,
Yeah.
felt sense. That right now I'm good, I'm open, we're jiving, you and I are doing our thing, right? Let's say imagine a world where we get off and I open something up and I have to do something with the team or something with one of my college age daughters or whatever. If I notice my body start to tighten or my heart rate start to move up or something shift inside, I stop right there. I just stop because I'm always prioritizing my frequency. And you move to step two, and step two is making it safe because something happened in that moment that created contraction, tension, absence of safety, fear. Something was messing around in there, right? And the whole idea is to keep ourselves as expanded as we can, right? So then when I move into step two and I say, okay, make it safe, we're playing with nervous system mastery. And what that might look like is different. If I was feeling agitation, I'm not going to breathe it into calmness. I'm going to go push a wall or I'm going to go throw a tantrum on the floor for 35 seconds and move the energy out of my body. This is like if there was a camera following me around all day, you'd be like, what is she? Why is she screaming in there? Why is she pushing that thing? You know what I mean? But it happened so quickly because one of the most important things for all of us, especially as women leaders, is to stay clean and clear in our body and remove any emotional and energetic congestion that's going on. We have to process stress really quickly so we can keep ourselves open. And then from that, we move into step three, which is what would she do? We're touching base with the evolved version of ourselves that's
Mm.
in the field, right? What would she do, right? And in depending on the instance, it might be she would open her mouth and say something right now, right? Or she would just completely let it go and move on. Or she would, right? Because if you continue to let yourself lead in the identity you're in, you will only make manifest very similar iterations of your same reality because your identity is the cornerstone of your reality, right? That's why what I'm saying is everything is identity. So I live inside
And
the
that,
choice method.
yeah, yeah. Regardless, and it's so empowering because it gets to a place where, regardless of what you are met with, like even if you
Yes.
are met with like a loss of a job or a loss of money or something that's
Yeah.
occurred,
Yeah.
you're okay because you're here and you're knowing that everything is for you here and you get that choice and how to, yeah, and how to navigate it.
Yes. Yes. And the choice is never mine. The choice is hers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's the key.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
key.
yeah. I love it. I love it. I mean, you're such a magician with this, and it really is such a gift to talk to you and to have you in this world. If there was one truth that you could leave my audience with, and I know we spoke a lot of truth bombs and you bring the
Yeah.
truth bombs, but like one thing that you would love for them to take away into their day and just feel like, oh my God, Tracy Litt said this, and this just felt like this is, just to meet them where they're at, what would that be?
Two things, because what I said before about none of it's real and you're not getting out alive, you need to hold that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you another one, but don't underestimate the visceral power of reminding yourself that none of this is real
Mm,
and you're not getting out alive.
mm, mm.
And the other thing I would say is you are whole. You are inherently whole and worthy. And anything that is the opposite of that in your mind or in your experience is the lie. We
Yeah.
all have to biologically go through the river of unworthiness. It's literally how we become who we are. No one gets out unscathed. Oprah, the Dalai Lama, Tom Brady, I don't care who you respect and admire, every single person that breathes has to perceive they are unworthy until they realize that's the lie and they've been whole the whole time.
So beautiful. And everything is then created from that wholeness, right? Like everything unfolds.
Yes. Oh, because and that's part of the work. It's wholeness consciousness instead of victim consciousness. It's
Yeah.
your wholeness identity instead of your unworthy identity. And I mean, think about how many hours, and I can only speak to this because I lived in my unworthy identity
Mm,
my whole life until I started becoming who I am.
mm.
I landed in that position to become a single mother when 8 month old because my unworthy identity was ruling the day. That is not
Yeah.
the outcome of a worthy identity,
I mean,
right? So
you
it's like
think
I'm taking
about
that responsibility.
how many choices are made from the unworthy identity throughout the day. Right? Like how many
Right.
people are walking around?
Oh, and how many think about that? Really, like, become aware with yourself. How many hours of the day, of the week, of your life do you spend in mental gymnastics because you're rooted in not believing you're enough, right? Because that's the underpinning of it. And then once you go, oh my God, fine, I had amnesia. That was the lie. The truth is, I have been whole the whole time because I am it and it is me, and I am more energy than I am matter, which means I am derived of the same exact energy as the sun and the moon and the stars and the atoms and everything else. We are whole by virtue of being born.
We can't not be whole. It's not possible.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally, you can't do things to make you less whole, and you can't do things to make you more whole.
Yeah.
You are whole.
So does that mean for you, you just don't even go into the story? Like you just don't
So,
go in.
no,
There's no
no,
story. There's no mind. You're never solving anything up here.
it's not even that I'm never solving. And this is part of the work too. I don't believe a thought I think.
Yeah.
I know that I am not my mind. I'm the being that has a mind, and I'm the consciousness that holds space for the thoughts that are naturally going to populate. So your eyes blink and your heart beats and your mind produces thoughts. That's the deal, right?
Yeah.
So when my mind, because it does, because of what we were talking about before in terms of moving into the unknown, right? The reason why we have something called self-doubt, and I put that in air quotes on purpose, and the reason why people believe in imposter syndrome is because it's all thoughts of limitation and they don't understand neurobiologically what's going on. Your mind is part of the nervous system that's wired for survival and sameness. It's never going to be like, get it, queen. That's not how it operates. You
Yeah.
have to learn how to use the mind like a tool and direct it accordingly. So when my mind does offer me fear-based thinking or thoughts of limitation, which it does, and anyone in this space worth listening to and says that doesn't happen, that is such bullshit because it's part of our wiring. But the question is, how quickly do you notice it? And how do you address it? And I don't attach to thoughts of limitation. I understand what they are.
Mm.
I go to my body, I make it safe, and we let her lead again.
Mm. I just got this feeling like you don't dance with doubt, right? Like don't dance
Yeah,
with
I love that. Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
dance
Yeah.
with the divine, dance with the divine
Yeah.
instead, which
Right.
is that's your truth. That's who you are.
Yes.
But like get off
Yes.
that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
cool. Tracy, tell us how people can connect with you, how they can find you, how they can get into your world, how they can contact
Yes,
you.
yes, yes. Well, Instagram, I'm super active at the Tracy Litt. And then the schoolofbecoming.com is our site. Everything is there, including the choice method. You can grab and get instant access. And the key, which is a beautiful, free 4-part private podcast that I created, all about an expanded capacity. It's amazing for us. It's a great listen as well.
Amazing. And I will pop all of those details just down below in the show notes so you guys can click on that. Thank you, Tracy. It's just such a gift to be in your energy. I felt deeply activated within me, and I'm like, you cannot listen to you could not listen to this podcast episode and not feel activated. And I hope people are going to just walk away going, okay, I'm not getting out of this alive, so what would she do? What's the choice that I would make right now?
Boom.
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 And
I love
challenge
it.
you to go and do that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you so much.